So yes, I'd like to introduce you to Jo Robinson and JJ Jeffries. Jo Robinson, if you don't already know her, is a local business lady who owns with her husband and the Kitchen over in Farnborough, which is a lovely little country pub that does great food and great drink. And also owns an events company called Indulgence, doing event catering. And then we have JJ Jeffries, who is owning, along with his family, Primrose Hill Farm. And at the farm there, they have an amazing venue that is used for private events such as weddings and corporate events. So two catering and hospitality businesses that up until March last year were thriving and doing extremely well. So the idea over the next hour or so is to ask Jo and JJ a bunch of questions about their experience over the last 11 months and see what we can learn and see how they coped and how they eventually actually came together to collaborate as two businesses to be able to continue to trade and to provide services to the community. So I think that's everything. I think that's you two quite well introduced, is it not? So let's start with the first question, which I suppose is the most obvious one. Going back to March last year, when you're busy in your businesses day by day, doing what you do, and then all of a sudden the Prime Minister tells you, actually, you've got to shut your business tonight. The first question has to be, what goes through your heads? What are your first thoughts? How did you react? Jo, do you want to go first?
Completely shell-shocked, honestly. I mean, I think from the Kitchen's point of view, we hadn't shut the pub at all in 19 years, and other than for a lick of paint, and the idea of closing was just unthinkable, really. Yeah, we were just completely shell-shocked.
JJ?
Yeah, the same. I'd gone away for a weekend in Exmoor with a girlfriend, and sort of came back on that Monday morning, sort of, with everything sort of imploding, and a lot of very worried brides saying, we were just about to kick off our season. Starts in March. We were about 2 weeks away from our first wedding, and then had one planned for every weekend right the way through. So yeah, absolute. What do we do? And I think that was the first time by Monday afternoon I was sitting with Anthony and Jo, because they are our in-house caterers, so we already had a very good relationship with them. So sit down, right, what are we going to do? And obviously, like everyone, with very little information or knowledge of what to do, but having to come together very quickly to make a plan.
I mean, I think we all felt it was like the perfect storm. We were just on the cusp of launching the kind of summer wedding business. We had 200, along with Primrose Hill, together we had about 200 weddings booked. And post-Brexit, we really felt kind of corporate confidence in the market coming back. And so we were getting lots more corporate inquiries. So we'd recruited a brilliant team to run this season. So it really came as, a real blow. We were all set for, having had Indulgence for 15 years, we were all set for our best ever year. It was devastating, really.
So you were both pretty much prepared for an amazing year of trade, weren't you? An amazing year of business. The last thing you were probably preparing for was to shut your doors overnight and have to start turning people away. So to say how well was your business prepared is probably a bit of an awkward question to ask, because how do you prepare for something like that? But what did you do? What's the first kind of that instinct of what you're going to do tomorrow when you get out of bed?
Well, I think for JJ and I, it was kind of reassuring clients that we were here for them, particularly the wedding clients who were very anxious, and kind of communication between ourselves, making sure that we were singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of what the communication we were having with the clients. It was very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. With so much uncertainty, you just got to, look straight to your clients and sort of help them through it. Obviously at that time we were looking at, was it going to last for a month, 2 months? So we were obviously dealing with those immediate people saying, just a lot of hand holding. Don't worry, we're here with you. We'll make it work. Yes, you might not be able to get married in 2 weeks, but we'll find another date, we'll postpone, we'll move everything forward. Just absolute hand holding, just to look after clients.
Yeah, of course. So I think somebody just entered the room on not on mute then. So let me just there you go. They've put themselves on mute. So thank you for that. Okay, so moving on. I mean, quite early on in I think it was probably April, wasn't it? Really, when Rishi Sunak started to talk about money and about schemes that people could access to help their businesses stay afloat during an uncertain time. What was the experience like for you in terms of accessing those kind of government support packages, and how did you find it? How easy was it? Jo?
I think it was just phenomenal. I remember sitting, waiting for Rishi's briefing about the support package for business. And I remember Anthony and I just sitting there thinking, there's just how on earth can they help us? And and then I remember having a conversation with my accountant about, we were waiting for details on how to apply for the grant that was available for our business. And they just paid the grant into our account. We didn't even have to, obviously we've been paying in the rates, they had all the details. It was quite remarkable. And when you've paid your taxes over many years of being in business, it really felt like we were very, very well supported quickly, and it needed quick action.
Yeah, JJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the same. Immediately, very quickly. The rates relief in itself, not having to pay a rates bill, but then followed up by the grant, which, as Jo says, was very, very easily accessible. You sort of felt that there was that help and an understanding of sort of some immediate cash requirements, which was obviously very, very good. And I think throughout, the support, although it'll never marry up to what the sort of downturn losses are. I think it's been very good. There's another rollout of a smaller rates grant, that we will benefit along with a lot of other hospitality businesses. So that's been really good. And even down to a local level, our local district council, I got a call to say, have you had the support? Have you accessed it? And our MP Jeremy Wright has been very good. Had even a meeting with them just to sort of to try and understand what was going on in the industry, to help us out. Which has been great.
That's excellent. It's good that you felt well supported then, really, that the money was easy to get to, and then I guess that that it takes a little bit of pressure off you for at least a few days whilst you've got a chunk of money coming to you, so you can kind of plan what you're going to do with that and how you're going to.
And I think at this stage, when the grants were coming through, the first stage of grants were coming through, we were all kind of whirling in so much uncertainty as well. So it came at having access to the funds very quickly gave us some security for the next few months, really.
Yeah. All very good stuff. So what about the furlough scheme then? Jo, I know you did. JJ, I'm not sure if you used the furlough scheme, but what about that? How's that been? And how have the people that work for you, how have they accepted that, and what's that experience?
Well, I think we realised, at this stage, we thought this was probably going to go on for a few months, and we realised we couldn't afford to pay the full salaries throughout this period. So we'd already, before the furlough scheme was announced, we'd already had conversations with our team about reducing their hours. I think being a small business, the one benefit is you can react quite quickly. Obviously, all our team had bills to pay. It was devastating, but we thought we've got to safeguard the business for the future rather than kind of spending loads of money on people that hadn't got any work to do effectively. So the furlough scheme came, with, for our team, it was just phenomenal, really, because we'd already negotiated that everybody in the team would, work 3 days a week as opposed to full time, so that we could save some money during the interim. And of course, they've all got bills and mortgages to pay, so the furlough scheme was a godsend for everybody, really.
Excellent. Did you use it, JJ, or being a family business, did you not need to? Or?
Yeah, no, the way we operate, we're very much family business, and do not employ direct staff. So that meant, obviously I retained, in my position as having to deal, I was still fully employed dealing with lots of postponements and everything else. So we didn't, but as Joe says, you know, obviously it's made a huge difference to them, which is great.
Okay, so I guess this is where your kind of your industry knowledge and your experience and your tenacity and your innovativeness comes out of the two of you, because you know, you're in this situation, your businesses are closed, but you're not going to sit back and relax and just wait for this thing to pass. You've both decided you're going to do something about it and get out there and do things to continue to trade, but also to serve your community. And Joe in particular, I think it's probably worth lightening the mood a little bit maybe and talking about the first thing that you did to get out there and actually start doing something with people again. And that was all about baking bread, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for a week we sat and licked our wounds and just thought, and actually really it's an element of boredom. And if anybody's met my husband, he needs kind of constant entertaining, and the idea of sitting at home now for the next kind of few months not doing very much with the idea was appalling. So we decided, and we'd had quite a lot of success through social media videos through the restaurant. And so we thought we'd do the sourdough challenge. Everyone was kind of sitting at home on kind of Facebook, and so had lots of time on their hands, and it was just a huge success. So we were kind of doing it. We did it every day for a week, feeding the mother dough, getting excited by one bubble coming up in the mother dough with all our kind of followers. It was great fun. And then we baked our first loaf live, which was a total disaster. It got stuck in the tin, you know, so but what did come about is people wanted to buy the bread. So we started baking bread and delivering it to the local villages. And it started off quite small, you know, with kind of 5 loaves, 10 loaves, and then it got to about 30 loaves. Anthony was getting up at like 3 in the morning to bake, and then we were spending about 4 hours driving around the Shire, delivering the bread. At some point, we had the realization that this probably wasn't very profitable. And I think at one point it worked out we were earning about 3p an hour delivering 30 loaves of bread around the Shire without any petrol money. And at this point we were doing the takeaways as well. So we started on a Friday night just doing a 1 dish, delicious, healthy Indian takeaway. And bearing in mind at this point, it was myself, my husband, and 2 very grumpy about being locked up teenage children. We're doing all of this. So we suddenly realized delivering bread wasn't feasible. So we decided to say, you know, if you would like the bread still, come and pick it up on a Saturday morning. The Friday night, I think we did 200 takeaways, and everybody said, oh, we're so excited about coming to buy bread tomorrow. Auntie and I were just like, I said, we're going to be really busy. So we all disappeared baking cookies, cakes. So we had other things to sell as well as the bread. And I think one thing throughout all of this, whenever we've done something new, I've always been so nervous the next, you know, wake up the next day, kind of nervous excitement about, will we be busy? And this horrible feeling of like, nobody's going to come. And I think by 9:45, we had a queue down the village on the Saturday morning, and we were sold out by, we opened at 10 and we were sold out by 11:15. But actually what this did was kind of inspire us to do more things on the retail side. So then that kind of led on to kind of like the cakes and ready meals, and the amazing Wickham Farm asparagus was just coming into season. So we started selling that. And but really focusing on local produce and delicious kind of ready meals that we're still doing now. So yeah, it was an interesting time. And actually we look back with, you know, even now with, you know, it was great fun in a way, and it kept us really busy, which was exactly what we needed.
And was part of that people also wanting to meet the famous Ant from his videos, because you know you get.
I think so, yes, probably. Although I live with him 24/7, so I don't quite get the same appeal. But I think he'd become kind of a bit of a local character, really. I think probably fair to say.
Local celebrity, even, I think, with the amount of views and shares that you get from the videos. And if anybody hasn't seen them,
it's been brilliant.
Yeah, if anybody's not seen Ant's videos, certainly go and have a look, because they are very entertaining.
But don't watch them in front of your children, because the language can be a bit fruity.
Which is brilliant. But it's great, you know, because what it did as well, though, is it kind of kept the spirit out there, didn't it? You know, with Ant's personality and
the
the way he
the community support was off the scale. I mean, just you know, quite overwhelming at times.
Yeah, which is brilliant. But there must have been some challenges there. You know, you're used to running a hospitality business, and now you're turning your hand to retail, really, aren't you? So what kind of challenges were there?
I think, you know, it was, I mean, our till system went down, you know, people were having to queue because everything was just so cumbersome, because we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, to be honest. And, but, you know, people had time on their hands and they were happy. People were queuing, socially distanced and chatting. It became kind of a bit of a community event, coming to the shop, coming to the Friday night takeaway. In fact, I remember JJ's brother turning up with his little boy on a tractor, pulling into the car park. And, you know, it was just, people loved it, you know, and it was an opportunity to get out and actually see people and not have to go to a supermarket. You know, that was also because at this stage, remember, we couldn't get flour. So we were selling flour. You know, there were lots of, it was a community spirit, really. It was great.
It sounds like the reason people couldn't get flour is because you had it all to cook.
Although ironically, you could buy catering sacks, but it was the small bags you couldn't get in the supermarket because they'd run out of the packaging for the small bags of flour. It wasn't anything to do with supply, which was quite interesting.
Oh, it's packaging.
So yeah, we were just putting it in paper bags, and yeah.
Excellent. And then you talked about your car park, which then a little bit later on in the year, coming into the summer, actually became an open air restaurant, didn't it? An outside restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, we built in a week a courtyard area so that we had kind of nice outside space for people to come, and, you know, when restrictions allowed, there were, you know, people could eat outside. And it was wonderful. Again, loads of community support. We were using the bread that we were making to make bacon sandwiches, again, still are now, at Primrose Hill Farm. And people loved it. It was very chilled out, kind of dining, very much scaled back, kind of eating we were doing sourdough pizzas and things like that. So it was very relaxed. And of course, we were blessed, weren't we, with the most incredible summer. So we were, you know, everybody was dining outside, and it felt like people were on holiday. It was just great. Yeah.
So is that something that, you know, life being back to normal at some point in the future, and the weather being fine, is that something that you're going to continue to do? Is that now an element of COVID that actually you're going to take into the future because it's opened up an opportunity for you?
Totally. And I think we love the fact what we do, you know, we're kind of making everything that we're serving. And of course, the benefit of this, we were obviously still quite concerned about being shut down at any point. So we were very careful about kind of making sure that what we were serving in the restaurant was linked to the retail side as well. So we were selling the sourdough pizza bases because we just didn't want to be left with loads of kind of stock of produce that happened in the first, you know, with the first lockdown. So we were very conscious about that.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. JJ, let's talk to you for a little bit. Tell us about the impact that COVID's had on your business in general.
Well, obviously, you know, our core business being events and weddings, you know, is absolutely total. You know, we've, you know, never, you know, even in the easing through the summer, you know, never really got back to being able to do, yes, you could do 15 guest weddings, 30. We've actually managed to hold 3 ceremonies with a total guest numbers of 20 in all 3 weddings, you know. So basically our whole business is basically been put on hold. You know, the challenge is obviously postponing, you know, working with couples to postpone, you know, so we're postponing now. Some people sadly are now on their 4th or 5th postponement, you know, because everyone, you know, especially at the start, we're thinking it'll only last 2-3 months, but we keep rolling forward. So it's just been very difficult, and obviously will impact us right the way through, you know, into 2022, because a lot of the postponements that are happening from last year, this year, are now going into 2022, which are then cannibalizing dates that we would have, you know, sold for future business. So it's been pretty absolute. So I think overall, as a minimum, even if we get going again by this summer, which is, you know, unlikely, in full, will be impacted for like a 2.5-year period on our core business.
What kind of experiences are you getting with, having to deal with people who are kind of postponing their weddings? And you say you've got people that are postponed, currently on their 4th postponement. What's that like, dealing with people like that? This is the biggest day of their life, and they're having to, and it's not just whilst the venue is really important, there's the rest of the stuff that people have to think about with the wedding as well. So how's all that been, kind of dealing with that emotionally?
Absolutely, it's very, very difficult, and hence why from day one it was always just try to be as helpful, hand-holding, like looking after a couple, just as and give as whatever options we can lawfully do. So we have come up with new options rather than just a wholesale postponement. If people want a micro wedding, so have a ceremony with us, just a little event, and then postpone the big party to a later date, or indeed just completely revise their plans down. When they're able to do so, have a small wedding for the 15 or 30 or whatever, the regulations allow. And of course, that's always the difficult thing. Just as you sort of make a plan and say, well, you can do a wedding for 30, then dear old Boris has to change the rules again and says, oh, that's 15, or now not at all, because like at the moment, you cannot get married unless you have exceptional circumstances. So, having flexibility, saying what, understanding that people's lives are moving forward, family, wanting to start a family, and all that. So, we're just trying to work around that. And that's where, critically, once again, we're the venue. Anthony and Joe are the caterers. They're the two big costly elements of a wedding, being hand in glove about when talking to people. If you want to do, whatever you want to do, we all, as two separate businesses, work very much together to make that process as easy as possible. So that's what we can do.
And then, so looking kind of medium and longer term, then, in terms of the impact that the crisis has had on your business in general, do you think this is ultimately going to be a positive thing because of other stuff that's come out of it?
Well, the key thing is obviously, and we'll come on to it, is obviously Anthony and Joe moved to us in October to open up the shop and the retail and the things you never would have done, in core business. We would all been busy doing weddings, and other events. So it's opening up very different opportunities and avenues. Obviously, our core business will always be events, but in the quieter times when, say, maybe not many people like weddings on a Monday in February, what other opportunities are there working together? It's worked well, all very last minute, all via social media. What can we do just to give future elements, and it's proving very popular. So it's something nice that we can continue to do, hopefully.
Yeah. So Joe, JJ's already kind of mentioned October was the month where the two of you kind of came together, and actually you moved effectively the kitchen to Primrose Hill Farm. So how did that come about, and tell us a bit more about that?
As the evenings and the days got cooler, we thought, this is never going to be sustainable to be outside. At that point, there was kind of a 2-meter social distancing rule in place. So, tables had to be 2 meters apart, which if you've been in our little country pub, it's wouldn't be COVID friendly. So I think Auntie and I spoke to JJ and said, how about it? How do you fancy having a shop and a restaurant? Because obviously Primrose Hill Farm's got the most amazing spaces that we could allow for social distancing. Brilliant. It was brilliant. And of course they were just like, yeah, brilliant. I mean, I often wonder what he must have thought. They just developed this beautiful ceremony barn that is now our food hall. But it was great. And the family was so welcoming. And it was, so it was just a question really. And I think, they were I think you were quite happy, JJ, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a challenge, and it's interesting. It really shows how having some sort of certainty enabled us to do that, because up until that sort of October, we were constantly thinking, well, we might get going in 6 weeks, 2 months with weddings, and obviously people had dates in diary. But it was there that around about that similar time, Boris had said, there won't be weddings events, till the spring. Obviously, we were looking to the quieter time anyway, so it was great. We could suddenly say, well, actually, we will have 6 months for sure where we can do this. So it was lovely to have something different, new to throw our energies into, and once again, start doing something, opening the doors again. Which is, it just was very sad going in there every summer Saturday, beautiful sunshine outside, thinking, God, it's someone's wedding day, should be, and here we are, empty. So yeah, to open the doors, welcoming people, and lots of people who haven't had a chance to come, because unless you've been invited to a corporate or wedding event here, you know, we weren't open to the public, but now anyone can come and have a look, and you know, we can sort of showcase what we do now.
Yeah.
And the views are spectacular. So you can see basically the whole of Warwickshire from the barn. So people walked in and were just completely blown away about this kind of secret on their doorstep that a lot of people didn't know about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we get that the two of you, are kind of like close in terms of friendships and so on anyway, but in what way has that actually got that relationship developed? Because being an in-house caterer, Joe, in the past, you obviously had a business relationship and you knew each other for a long time, but over the last few months, being so much more in each other's pockets, so to speak, what's that done to the relationship?
Well, I mean, it's just been phenomenal. The whole family couldn't have been more welcoming to us. And I think we had so many kind of stops and starts over the last few months, really. And JJ was always kind of, right, let's crack on, right, what are we going to do? I mean, I think when back in November, when we had to close the restaurant, the restaurant was firing on all four cylinders. It was just amazing. We had DJs and mixologists on Friday and Saturday nights. The atmosphere was just incredible. Obviously all social distance, maximum tables of 6. And it was, people were loving it. And it was just devastating again to kind of have to rethink. We've just kind of recruited and trained all our team, because obviously, that kind of poses challenges. Obviously, we were busy right from the start. So, we had a month in, it felt like a well-oiled machine. And then bang, we had to close again, which was just devastating. But, JJ was like, right, the shop's going well, let's carry on with the shop. And the takeaways have been hugely successful. So we kind of developed the takeaway element further so that people could still come and eat our food, even though they couldn't come and enjoy the beautiful surroundings. Yeah.
So you've gone from kind of moving in there, doing a little bit of like a fantastic restaurant that's closed. You decided to turn it into effectively a food hall. JJ, taking your amazing space there and turning it into a food hall. Was it easy? Was it difficult? Were there any challenges there? How's
Actually surprisingly easy, because what we do for a living is, we do events, and we can turn the place from a car showroom to a wedding, very, very quickly. So actually the challenge of turning it into a retail space was very little. With the help of Wickham Park Farm Shop, they very kindly loaned us a sort of industrial-sized fridge display unit that we didn't have. But apart from that, just repurposed all our furniture, tables, chairs, collaborating with Anthony and Joe, and just creating something that looked lovely and hopefully a bit different from your standard, local little co-op or supermarket. So it was something really attractive. But the spaces were, very versatile. So actually, no, that was the easy bit, really.
And I think when you're in the events industry, you have kind of a can-do approach anyway, because obviously inevitably things happen, at big events, live events, you have to kind of find solutions quite quickly. So we were kind of all on the same page in terms of that, and it was teamwork. We just kind of get on with it and make it happen.
Yeah. That just, someone has an idea, somebody else agrees, you just get on and just go with it, really, don't you? Just pulling on the resources that you really have available.
Yeah, and I think, you can do things so much easier, because of the situation we're in. COVID has meant that actually, having a go and trying it, even on a business level, people are more forgiving because you can try something. And because of the COVID situation, then, it doesn't necessarily have to be as polished, although we always try and make everything 110% polished, but give it a go and see if it works, because COVID, everyone's in a totally different world. So why not just have a try and see if it works, and keep it and keep evolving it. That's the most important thing, which Anthony and Joe are fantastic at. Different ideas each week. There's another crazy idea of what's now Hamp's got his little butcher's block there.
Innovating daily, for sure. Yeah.
And I think people have really loved that, because every time they come, there's something different, and you know, we're kind of literally every week we kind of extending the ranges, and also still kind of putting our toe in the water. Does this work? Doesn't it work? You know, yeah. So it's, yeah, and I think in terms of partnership with kind of JJ and ourselves, it's just fast tracked it in terms of the teamwork, and the, you know, the business relationship has just accelerated, and I think will stand us in good stead for the future.
Yeah, I think, you know, we British, we're well known, aren't we, for being polite and patient, but I think this crisis in general has just proven just how polite and patient we really can be, isn't it? Especially
people have got a lot more time on their hands and have been out everywhere, and yeah, it's great. People have been kind of very patient, and you know, and enjoying kind of what, you know, coming and picking up a coffee. You know, people travel 15. In fact, somebody even came by helicopter at one point and had picked up Anthony's pizza. But you know, it's yeah, I think people have got time to kind of pop in for a coffee, and it's become a real treat.
I think that's on my bucket list now. Take a helicopter to get a pizza around.
I have to say, it was very exciting.
That's excellent, excellent. So JJ, you know, your business, as you said before, you know, people didn't really know about it unless they'd been invited to an event over at Primrose Hill. But so how else has your business benefited from the fact that now actually you've collaborated with Joe and you've got all this extra footfall and people being aware of your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, we obviously, our main channels of marketing previously, it was, you know, social media, but to those people looking for wedding, you know, venues primarily, and then to events organisers for, you know, the corporate events and things like that. But yeah, you know, now we've got, you know, a nice footfall every weekend, people seeing it. You know, yes, they can't probably be thinking about organising an event in the next few months, but you know, now they're going, wow, didn't know it existed. You know, talking to friends about it, people are coming along. You know, just being able to see the space. So, you know, hopefully that will mean we'll pick up more. You know, because everyone wants to party when this is over. So hopefully, yeah, that will mean that we get a lot more trade from that, which has been great. And the other thing is, you know, for our more local couples who are destined to get married here, they're popping by, supporting us amazingly, and coming to do their bit of shopping. And just seeing that there's life and positivity, you know, in a bleak situation, rather than us being, like I said, a closed sort of shop. They're seeing that there's life and energy going on, and we're all gonna pull through together, and we will be there on the other side to, you know, to host those weddings and things. So yeah, great different dynamic for us, which is really
I think that's what's been important, isn't it? Is to do something to keep your brand there, to keep your business alive, and to keep people engaged with it. In some way or other, so as and when they can use you, you know, they know you're still there. They know that you're still there for them.
Yeah, and I think that works both front of house and sort of back of house. You know, like Anthony and Jay, all their chefs, you know, they're not sat on furlough. You do go in there on a Wednesday morning. All the chefs are coming in to start cooking, ready for the weekends. You know, they're flat out. So you've got staff that, you know, are still engaged doing stuff. You know, which has got to be better than sitting at home on furlough and, you know, just going to mush. You know, we're all working, you know, which is great, you know. So there's that whole positive from the whole team and everything, rather than, you know, it gives us that ability, if there are little things we can do, and when we can get back to it, we're up and running. It's not like having to wind the machine back up, you know, and everyone emerging from under a rock going, God, I haven't worked for 18 months. What do I do?
Yeah, which is good. It's good to keep the business running, for sure. And, you know, whilst you've been keeping the business running, and all these different changes that you've had, Joe, from baking bread to Friday night takeouts to opening a summer restaurant to moving into Primrose, and then all the other bits and pieces that you've done around that, quite a journey. How have you marketed that out?
Like that, Alan. It's like
have you never listed it before? How did you market that? All those different changes. How did you keep people up to date with what's going on?
I mean, social media has been our best friend in terms of, you know, being able to get the message out there quickly. Obviously, I think people have got more time on their hands. I said earlier, you know, they're more engaged with social media. So basically, all our marketing has been through Facebook and Instagram. And luckily, we've got something that's very Primrose Hill Farm that's very photogenic in our food. So it's kind of easy on the eye, certainly for Instagram. But also we send out a newsletter probably once a week. sometimes twice a week if we've made a kind of another change, which has happened. So yeah, and I think we've got, you know, we have a 20 to 25% opening rate, which I understand is quite high for kind of a generic direct newsletter. So people have been really engaged with us. I think they found the kind of story quite interesting, our partnership with JJ as well, and being able to come to Primrose Hill Farm. So, you know, I think because we've changed a lot, it's helped with the engagement. We haven't just, you know, stayed put.
Yeah, no, it does. And of course, the other thing that you've got is Ant, who provides amazing videos, you know, and that personality that comes out. So you know, you mustn't forget that.
Ant's rants have been kind of talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, we would do, well, one that stands out for me is the one where he was stood in the field at Primrose Hill pointing all the different directions of where lockdown was and lockdown wasn't, and the fact you were literally right on the edge of not being able to serve people coffee, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that was really sad.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And you could tell from Ant's rant.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what, we're 11 months now, aren't we, really? Coming into nearly a year. Given all of that, is there a major standout high or standout low that you think you can recall over that period of time in your businesses that you'll kind of never forget?
I think in terms of the highs for me have been the support we've had from the local community, business community. You know, it's been really, I mean, I can well up just thinking about it. It's just been absolutely phenomenal. And the support of JJ and his family has just been, you know, amazing. And we feel kind of so gifted to be able to have this opportunity to work at Primrose, because it's just, otherwise we would have not been able to do very much at all. So we, you know, those are the highs. The lows are the constant, you know, kind of worry and concern about the future, I suppose, of a bit, you know, because I remember even went back in my uni days in business studies, you know, remembering, you know, business planning is the most important element of a business. You know, you've got to have a plan, and I think you can't plan at the moment. I mean, we have, of course we're planning, but you're kind of dealing with so many different scenarios. I mean, we still don't know when we'll be back to doing kind of full-scale events. So I think that's the lows. It's been, you know, we've had so much fun, don't get me wrong, we really have. But, you know, the strain on the business has been, you know, worrying about the business has been huge, really. Yeah, I think that's for me. And JJ.
JJ, what about you?
Yeah, hi, absolutely. Sitting in the barn in October with the DJs and an espresso martini in a restaurant that, you know, just didn't exist a few weeks earlier, you know, was an absolute high. Just thinking, wow, you know, it's incredible how that's evolved, and, you know, just shows what, you know, a very bad situation, you know, what the good that can come out of it, you know, which is marvelous. Thankfully, I don't have to do any waiting, so that was even better. And then the low, the one pivotal point, I think, was when we were in the tiering. We were coming out of that November lockdown. You sort of forget, don't you? But lockdown 2, coming out of lockdown 2, the team was all preparing to reopen, you know, a restaurant, you know, for the, you know, December running up to Christmas. And we heard the news that because we fall within Stratford district, we're an OX postcode, but we fell into tier 3, not 2, half a mile away from the you know, from the boundary. So, you know, a real low that, you know, think, you know, because you deal with everything when you think you're on a level playing field, but we didn't at that point. So yeah, that was the low.
Yeah. And to think that a restaurant could open up 2 miles down the road and we were having to close again was just devastating. I mean, actually, that probably was the toughest time to have to kind of pick ourselves back up again. You know, I think that was the thing. It was tough, but we, you know, you have to carry on and just do your best.
You do. You've certainly done that. But actually looking back at it, is there anything you would have done differently at all?
I would have, if I'd known we would be in retail for 11 months, I would have put a barcode system. I used to go to sleep dreaming of having a till like at Tesco's where you could just scan rather than having to use our cumbersome system of finding each product. So if anybody's watching that has got any links to anyone that does barcoding, I think we're going to be doing this for some time yet. So, you know, I mean, that's a kind of flippant side of it, but I think I don't think we could have done anything more than we have. I really, you know, feel proud of my team as well, who've been, you know, phenomenal in, you know, 1 minute are kind of gearing up to do fine dining weddings to creating ready meals. I mean, the team have been, I'm so proud of them. Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think we could have done anything more.
I think you're probably quite right, to be fair. JJ, anything different?
Well, yeah, in hindsight, you had a wonderful thing, isn't it? I should have done this, you know, but at the time, you know, we just, yeah, followed the COVID coaster, as you call it. So no, just delighted we've managed to achieve what we did. You know, the only bit is I should have read the small print on our business interruption policy, maybe a little bit better. But apart from that, you know, it's yeah, you know, it's not where we ever thought we'd be. Don't want to look at the accounts and the finances, but actually, it's been, you know, quite an inspiring, quite, you know, and many times enjoyable 11 months, you know, with the backdrop of what we're having to deal with. So so yeah, a lot of good coming out of it. You got to stay positive, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. You certainly made some very good steps in a pretty nasty situation. And of course, we're heading towards the 22nd of February now, where we're expecting our Prime Minister to give us a bit of some kind of a plan as to how we're going to get out of this. How are you feeling about those kind of events, those kind of announcements, and what that might mean for you and your business?
I think, I mean, the vaccination program is phenomenal. And I think I feel quite optimistic. I really do feel we need a roadmap out, some indication of kind of when, but I mean, I say that, but you know, things are changing all the time, but it would be great to have some indication of when, you know, that things will return to kind of some normality, so we can kind of plan a bit more clearly. But yeah, I feel optimistic, really. I think it certainly looks brighter than it did a few months ago. So we'll just have to keep going.
Yeah, I think, you know, absolutely. You know, it would just be nice to start having that trajectory out, you know, starting with the end of Feb, you know, just starting to see when, you know, we might be able to go out of complete lockdown into then, you know, hopefully being able to open the restaurant element, you know, to just start engaging business, you know, and being able to obviously host the smaller events, you know, because it's not going to be, you know, suddenly Boris is going to say you can have a wedding for 150 tomorrow. That's not going to happen. So, you know, just building back up slowly, hopefully by the midsummer, you know, that we can be doing larger events. But, you know, because of where we're at now, we surely can't be closed down any more than we are. You know, we've got a food hall that will always operate. So hopefully it will just, you know, incrementally build up over the next few months. So we're trying to make some exciting plans for if we can do outside dining, then inside, you know, and just build as we go through to the summer, when hopefully all will look a lot better.
So the future's full of hope for sure, isn't it? And so I think that's it in terms of questions for me, really. I mean, you know, thank you to both of you for your time and for sharing your experiences. I think most people on the call here, or everybody on the call here, is going to agree that you've done exceptionally well, really, and you're testament to the great British small business owner who won't sit down and just take it. You know, they'll get on and they'll fight these challenges. We're just going to have a quick look at the chat, actually. Neil, if you want to unmute yourself, Neil, just while I have a quick look at the chat, just to see if there's any questions here or any comments on here that we might want to discuss.
Thanks, Alan. Feel privileged to be able to unmute myself. It's been great listening. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Joe. Just to underline whilst Alan looks at the chat and see if there's any further questions that we can pull out in the last 10 minutes. It's a lovely venue, lovely environment. JJ, put you on the spot. Just what's the postcode in case some of us here haven't been and want to come and find you? Because I know it's North Oxfordshire and a little bit further, but you know, it's only 15 minutes from central Banbury. What is the postcode?
So we're OX17 1DQ.
1DQ. Yeah, OX17 1DQ. And I mean, Arlescote's a lovely tiny village on the edge of Edge Hill, and literally the views are fantastic. It will become again a super venue for weddings, but in the meantime, to pop in with your shopping bag and pick up whatever it might be that you want to pick up. I mean, we're regularly buying the sourdough pizza bases for our Friday night pizzas that I make at home with the help of Anthony's bases, which is fantastic, and other super produce. I even bribe my daughter for a trip out as long as we can go and get a cookie. So many things there. Very much like to plug the takeaways that you do, Joe, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, pre-book via the website. I know that I'm picking up our Saturday night day early Valentine's dinner for Carol and I on Saturday evening, and we've done that. Will be our third date night dinner, and it's a really good, and I drive 15 minutes to pick it up and bring it home, and it's super hot when I get it home. It's lovely packaged 3-course dinner. It's perfect, and I just really want to sort of applaud you all for making that service available, because it's been brilliant, and I wasn't experiencing that before lockdown in that way, so it's a sort of definite positive there. Alan, before I kind of share more of my personal habits, is there anything you'd like to interrupt us with?
Say, where are you?
Interrupt me with, perhaps.
Where are you? Stop. Yes, there was some stuff on the chat that I think is worth mentioning. Tom Guthrie did have a question, but I believe that's been answered, because that's about how whether you would have done anything differently. But there's some nice comments on here. So Liz Ambrose did need to go, but she said that she wanted to say that these are two great people. They're a perfect example of resilience and showing amazing ability to reinvent themselves. So they deserve the success that they get. So that's very nice. Yeah, Kelly Chandler said that as fellow events and wedding sector colleague, she thinks that your various diversifications have been nothing short of phenomenal. So that was a nice comment there. Karen Baldry is endorsing the two sentiments and saying thank you to Joe and JJ for your inspirational stories. So it's been a really good feedback there. We have got a question here actually. I'm not quite sure of the actual name, but what we've got here as a Zoom name is it ID Brewing, something like that. The question there is, Transport Minister says do not travel abroad this year. So what are your thoughts on this statement, planning, etc., and other ideas for a British staycation? But I don't know if that's exactly, because you're not bed and breakfast or a hotel or anything, but the question's out there. Maybe it's an open one for anybody to give some feedback on.
We do have accommodation, but it is related to our event. So yeah, that's mainly how that works. But yeah, you know, I've seen that. You know, I think, yeah, but isn't it what the minister then also said, that we shouldn't be planning any holiday, even staycation? So who knows? I think, yeah, there's a bit of difference of opinion on that one. But
yeah,
I think that, you know, it will be a great opportunity for us, because people will be, if they are staying put, hopefully it will be an opportunity, we'll be able to do more. And, you know, I think we've kind of over lockdown, you know, this lockdown, we've kind of focused on walks and things like that. So there's lots to do in the local area. And, you know, I think people are looking now for things to do locally. I mean, I know we've been walking in places that I, you know, meaning to do, but haven't had time, or just, you know, so I think it will be an opportunity for us, really.
Well, people like Neil does quite often, rather than cook at home, or want to go and get a nice cooked meal, won't they, and treat themselves at home when they can't go out. So yeah, absolutely, I'm sure it does present opportunities for you there. So we've got a last comment here from Sharka Wild. Hello, Sharka, haven't seen you for a while. Sharka says she agrees with Liz and Kelly. The two of you are legends and a perfect example of entrepreneurs who just forge ahead. She loves your new setup, and Primrose Hill is really beautiful indeed. So well done to all of you, and thank you for an inspirational talk. So thanks for that, Sharka. So that's what we've got there on the chat. So over to you, Neil, for closing thoughts, I think. Do I have to allow you to unmute yourself again? There you go.
Thanks, Alan. I was just getting challenged there. No, thank you, everyone. Again, so on behalf of Banbury Chamber, it's wonderful to see a huge turnout this morning. Thank you to Joe. Thank you for JJ for putting in the time. Thank you to Alan for preparing some great questions and a lovely way of having a conversation with you both. hearing what you've had to do over the past 11 months is really, really interesting, encouraging, inspiring, and for us all. So thank you very much indeed. Just remind us, Joe, are you open as a farm shop 7 days a week?
No, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Friday from 10 till 7, Saturday 10 till 7, and Sunday 10 till 3.
Yeah, with a Super Sunday lunch as well.
Can I just say a thank you to all the people, you know, members of the chamber who've been hugely supportive of our project here. It's been very much appreciated.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. In the minute or two that's remaining, I'm going to plug our next chamber event. It's the 19th of March, which is a Friday morning. How to manage your business after Brexit. Brexit's happened. We're in a post-Brexit world, as we know, but there's still issues. I'm reading every day challenges that different businesses are facing, coming to terms with, adjusting, discovering, and we're going to have that particular morning a panel of 5 people. I think it's going to be a lively discussion, opportunity for questions and answers. We've got included on the panel Victoria Prentice, the Banbury-Bicester MP and Under Secretary of State at DEFRA, Department of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. We're also going to have somebody from Oxlep that's providing specialist business support to Oxfordshire businesses, adjusting and adapting. So very much on the ball with questions that you might have. We're going to have two local businesses that are involved in export and import. That's Norbar Talk Tools and Karsha. And we're going to have an employment specialist, so any kind of employment from former EU, from EU countries. So it might be that you're a business that's very much affected by Brexit and you'll be really interested in learning, but also it might be that you're very much wanting to know how local businesses that are involved are adapting and adjusting. But you might not be yourself having to sort of cope with changes, but you're just really interested to hear. So it's going to be a really good event, I think. 19th of March, it's on our website. Book in 8:30 in the morning for 1 hour. Just to underline that to everybody. So again, thank you. Keep in touch with us. If you're a member, you'll hear from us regularly because we'll send you our monthly newsletter with what's happening and what's coming up and what other events we've got, because we've got events lined up for April and May and June already, with the April and May events also in this how-to series. So we'll give you a bit more information about that. If you're not a member, our administrator Yasmin will be in touch next week to see if you want to sort of come to further events and potentially join us. You'll be very welcome if that's the case. So thanks again. It's now 1 o'clock. I'm going to sign off and I'll let you guys get on with your next appointments or lunchtime. So thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.